In this video, I'll show you how I would go from absolute scratch zero empty table to a playable game in just a couple hours. And you know, the game idea I'm going with is this top-down 2D spaceship asteroid mining game. But it really works the same way for almost any kind of game. And the only difference is, you know, the kind of level of visuals you get for the prototype. For this one, since it's a 2D top-down game, the visuals actually look pretty decent. If you're going with 3D games or more like animated, hand-drawn games, then the visuals are not gonna look quite as pleasing. And even this is just, you know, what the AI tools came up with. So I do plan on switching these to actual sprites later on. But the main point of this video is just to show you how to get started. So if you want to start making games, you can follow the exact same steps and make something playable, and then, you know, you can figure out how to actually make it really good and make it into something where people actually really want to play your game. So the first step is we are in Visual Studio Code and we're gonna create a new project. So I'm gonna hit open folder. Then I have this folder where I store all of my game projects. So I'm just gonna create a new folder here. It's just gonna be called Mining Outpost. It's not the name of the game, it's just a working title, so I know what we're talking about. Then just hit select folder, and then we have to hit this manage button here and go trust. This way we can actually, you know, work inside this folder and develop the project here. So that's good. I also have Claude Code installed. You should be able to install it pretty easily. Just, you know, search how to install Claude Code on Google and you'll find the instructions. But other than that, let's get into it. So it's a blank project. We have nothing here. The game is going to be a top-down spaceship mining roguelike game. The inspiration is kind of like Dome Keeper, where you have this outpost that you're defending, and then you go out and gather resources, and then you come back to defend against waves of enemies. But it's gonna be a little different. Dome Keeper is like you have the dome and the defense at the top, and then mining here at the bottom. In here you have the core in the center, and then you mine at the edges, and then you also have the enemies at the edges. So we'll see if it works. I think it's gonna be at least an interesting game to try out. So yeah, I'm gonna use the bypass permissions for games. I found it's pretty safe, never had any issues with it, but you know, there are risks. You can also use other modes, but let's start prompting. The first step is to prompt about kind of the game, so Claude knows what we're doing, and then, you know, decide the kind of what technology we should use. But I'm gonna let Claude make that decision based on the requirements of the game. So here we go. This project is a top-down spaceship mining and wave defense game. Basically we have an outpost, mining outpost, where we can defend it, and we can bring resources back to the outpost to buy upgrades at the outposts. Then we have a player-controlled ship, and the player's goal is to fly out to the asteroid field, mine resources, and bring them back to the outpost. And then every now and then waves of enemies spawn, and the enemies start navigating towards the player's outpost. And then the player can defend the enemies with their ship, or they can enter the outpost and use the outpost's defense systems to defend the base. So that is the basic idea of the game, and we need to start developing it. So that's the first half of the prompt. Nothing crazy, very simple stuff. In the next half, we're gonna talk about the requirements. The game will be for desktop for a itch.io and possibly Steam release, and it also needs to support mobile, but the desktop launch is the first priority. For mobile, it will be a landscape view, and it will have on-screen virtual joystick controls. Basically just one joystick for movement and another for aiming, and the same setup will be also used for the desktop, except for WASD and a mouse. The UI will be, clicking with the mouse or tapping on the mobile. Okay, so that's kind of the general requirements of the game. Then let's talk a little bit more about some other scope things. So next, the things I want to talk about are what technologies to use. You can decide the technology stack, but we will not be using a game engine. We will be using a web stack, but we need high quality rendering and game physics with simple colliders and 2D collisions and physics. The game will be quite arcadey, so we don't necessarily need very realistic physics, but we do need accurate collision detection. So yeah, that's a decent start. I think with that we can get started. So now the end of the prompt will just be, start implementing the project and keep developing it until we have a playtestable prototype in the browser where the player can interact with the outpost. They can go mine the asteroids by shooting at them with laser weapons, and we have waves of enemies spawning and a progress bar of when the next wave will spawn. And the player should be also able to enter the outpost to use heavier turret that is attached to the outpost. Use basic wireframe UI until we have designed a UI styling guide. For now, the only priority with the UI is to have a decent user experience, but the visual look of the UI doesn't matter for the styling yet, only the layouts matter. So please do design proper layouts for the UI, and please do develop tools where you can screenshot the UI in different configurations and different states so you can verify your outputs. Please also write a claude.md file and possibly skills where needed for project instructions of how to develop this project. The first point I want to make before we get started is to do not add extra tooltips or user instructions to the UI unless specified. You can add super simple instruction prompts for when the player can interact with something. For example, press E to interact is appropriate, or possibly even press E to enter outpost or something like that, but do not ever add extra instructions for the player unless I have specifically instructed so. Also, for UI text, do not use EM dashes. Let's even add absolutely do not use EM dashes, something like that. Okay, yeah, so why did I add this? I found that Claude tends to make really bad prompts for, when you are about to interact with something, it writes these explanations of how to use the controls in the game and stuff like that. So that's really annoying, and I wanted to avoid being so proactive with stuff like that. All right. The last thing to add is keep going until it is completed. You can ask questions, but do not stop until the whole scope of this prompt has been completed to a prototype level. All right, there we go. Now it's gonna be working for quite some time because this is a long ass prompt with a lot of stuff we specified. And in the meantime, what I will be doing is playing the guitar. Alright, it seems like our first prompt is about to be finished. It took a while. Of course, the first prompt usually does because there's a lot of work to do. But I think it might have been like 30 minutes, something like that. But time flies, time goes fast when you're playing the guitar or doing something else, something fun in the meantime. Please run the game and give me the local host address where I can test it. Yeah, so let's do that. So it does it for us, and yeah, it looks like it did everything right. Of course, you can never know if it actually followed the instructions like you imagined before you try it. So let's actually give it a try. So that's good. We have our local host address. Let's open it in a web browser, and this is what it looks like. So of course, the visual style, it's actually much better than I expected. This is a cool style. It's not what I had in mind, but of course it doesn't have access to the sprites we're gonna need eventually. So this is a very good like art direction for the meantime. And it seems our cargo is already full. Okay, how does this work? So E to enter outpost, this is good. Laser power, cargo bay, can we upgrade it? Oh, so now our cargo is empty. Oh, so we spent the cargo to buy the upgrades, I think. And the cargo blobs don't seem to be removed when we exit. It feels a little laggy. I'm gonna have to check about that. But this is good. Yeah, nothing is like being destroyed. So I think that might be a bug. The cargo blobs and the enemies, none of them are being destroyed. Okay, but that's definitely... Ooh, the game was lagging a lot, and even the video might have been lagging. So there's a few things we need to fix. Okay, let's go. The cargo blobs that are dropped by the asteroids are not destroyed once collected. Enemies are also not destroyed when they run out of health. And it seems like the game was lagging quite a bit. Could you look into these issues? Also, the idea is that once your cargo is full, when you actually enter the station, your cargo should be returned to the station immediately. So you don't have to spend it. It will be stored inside the station until you spend it. We should also create a couple different resources. I'm thinking 3 different resources that can be collected from the asteroids would be good for the game. We should have different symbols like geometric shapes and colors for each of the 3 resources. Also the asteroids, let's actually add it here. Because the asteroids are also... the asteroids were also not being destroyed. So yeah, let's see what it does. That should probably fix the issues. Also like things like the Claude MD, it's a little long and I don't like, this seems a little weird. Why is it adding the whole architecture here? Seems a little unnecessary. Other than that, it's like very basic Claude MD. I would maybe make it a bit better. Yeah. Whatever, doesn't really matter. The thing I really care about is, UI is wireframe, no UI text, no extra tooltips and stuff. But yeah, that's a good first pass. Let's see if we can do better. Alright, next prompt finished. We have another update. Let's take a look. So now we have stored and cargo separately. Oh, okay, so it's working now. And now we return the cargo, yeah. And then we can collect more. It's a little weird. It's not exactly what I imagined. If you guys ever played, what is it called? Dome Keeper? I was thinking more similar to that. But we'll have to take a look. Oh, that's the secondary resource. We added a new resource type, and this one's that. Cool. Oh, and the UI, is it just... Oh, so yeah, of course, since it's the web stack, when you develop games with the web technology, you also get the web zooming. This is weird. It's zooming in when you enter the outpost, but it should be the opposite. You should like zoom out when you enter the outpost so that you get a better view of the enemies that are approaching. Whoops, took some damage there. Oh yeah. Oh, it's recovering. It shouldn't be recovering, it should cost to replenish the... Oh, those are not enemies. I thought those were enemies. Okay, not exactly what I had in mind, but of course, you know, that's how it goes. Making games with AI tools is just endless iteration. That's the whole point. U for upgrades. Ship hull, no. Okay, we should have enemies somewhere, but of course, since it's so zoomed in, I don't know where they're coming from. Are there any enemies even coming? Oh, and it's quite jittery when you fly around. Alright, yeah, you know, I guess it's what we asked for, but it's still not what we wanted. But yeah, it is what it is. So what exactly is wrong with it? Let's open Cloud Code and let's open the game. So when you enter the station or the outpost, the view should zoom out. Currently it's zooming in when you enter. Also, for the player weapon, I was thinking more a continuous laser beam and not laser projectiles. And the player weapon should be much weaker against the enemies compared to the station. And instead of ramming into the station, the enemies should shoot at the station. And they should keep shooting at the station until they are destroyed. The station hull should not automatically repair. It should cost the player resources to repair it. Also, the player ship is very jittery when it's flying fast. Okay, that's maybe enough for now. Of course, a lot more changes in the future, but those are the immediate ones that come to mind. Maybe other ones are, there needs to be more time between the enemy waves, so you actually have like at least 30 to 60 seconds to go find the asteroids. Also, it should be much harder to navigate the asteroid field, so there needs to be much more asteroids, and the asteroids with the resources should be more rare, so that you have to navigate between the junk asteroids that are there just to distract you. The enemy should also then have simple avoidance for the asteroids. Okay, something like that. Let's see how that looks. That should make it better for sure. Okay, there we go. The change finished. It's looking pretty good now, but you know, of course, there's a lot of issues still. The first one that comes to mind is basically that if you don't have enough cargo capacity, you should just collect as many resources as you can into the tractor beam and just like pull them around, which maybe should be made into the main collection mechanic. Like instead of having a cargo bay at all, maybe, you know, some kind of tractor beam should be the only way to move resources around. You know, that's how it works in the game Feed the Deep, where you drag these resources around and they physically weigh you down. And the same applies for Dome Keeper, where also you drag the resources to the top. And it works really well for these games because then collecting resources, it's not just a number where you're like, okay, I'm gonna collect 60 units and then I go back. It becomes a kind of an optimization task of how much does it make sense to carry before you get slowed down too much. And also then the question becomes like, at what point does it make sense to get some kind of technology to help you carry the resources? You know, if you carry them all by yourself, maybe, you know, that's fine for early game, but then at some point you're gonna be bottlenecked by the amount of resources you can carry to the top, and then maybe you need to invest in some, you know, helper units that can help you carry the resources to the top faster without slowing you down. And I think something like that would make a lot of sense for this game. Another thing this game is really missing a lot is some kind of, you know, these other penalty systems and like risk reward mechanisms where you basically get rewarded more for going further from your base. Currently, you just find resources and then you mine them and then that's it. But there's really no incentive in exploring deeper inside the levels. So that's what I would develop for this game next. where once you go further away from your base, you start finding more valuable things. Of course, now the issue is also that it's really hard to find your way back. You know, in Dome Keeper it's easy because you just go up and then you eventually will find your way out. In this one, you don't really know what direction it is, except for these kind of really faint rings. You can't probably even see it on the video, but there's like a circle here, so I know that, you know, this way is towards the home. But yeah, you can kind of see there's an outline of a circle here. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on where to take this game next. Also, the upgrade system, it definitely should be like a more of a upgrade tree, where you actually want to think about what order you upgrade things in. Now it's just, you know, spend resources on stuff that help you collect more resources, spend enough resources on defense so that you don't lose, but there's like very little stakes at the moment. Also, maybe it's already clear, but you know, this is currently just an infinite game where after, you know, 3 waves or 4 waves, you have basically nothing left to do and you have pretty much mined everything out. So yeah, we need a lot more mechanics where you have more depth to the gameplay. So, you know, you can see that while the game is simple, writing the code with the AI tools was super simple. You just describe what you want to have happen, and then the real task is figuring out what's missing and how to actually make the game better. And then of course later on it will be making the visuals for the game, because, you know, while this aesthetic is pretty cool, it's still very placeholder, very AI made. It could be cool like this. A game that looks like this could definitely become successful on mobile or even on desktop, but it's really not what I had in mind for this. So we're gonna have to do, and even if we keep this, we're still gonna have to do a lot of work on the visuals. And you know, eventually the problem is gonna be that since visuals like this are so easy to make, a lot of game will end up looking like this. And then you know, people might be put off by these visuals if all the games that look like this are AI generated and they have no real depth to them. So, you know, while in the current day, making a game like this seems like a really good idea. It might be soon that you're gonna need to put in a lot more work to the visuals to actually stand out. But that's just my thoughts. If you wanna see this game being developed further, make sure to subscribe and check out my links in the description. I'll see you there.